athletic performance, and help them to achieve their exercise goals with evidence-based practices. Being a pioneer in the industry, the company has helped more than 5,000 high-performance athletes, recreational athletes, and the general population in applying nutrition not only for better health, but also to achieve noticeable improvement in sports performance.
Apart from athletes support personnel such as coaches, parents, sports dietitians, sports nutritionists, sports scientists, and other allied professionals have also benefited with the experience and knowledge obtained from us. Our vision is to provide the highest quality, evidence-based sports nutrition practices, education, and services. To achieve that, we stand still with our 3E mission.
Engage. Empower. Excellence. The 3E mission drives the company's direction with an array of nutritional services.
We provide body composition assessment, weight management, dietary assessment, personalized menu planning, yearly periodization planning, and training observation for the athletes. We want to make sure that our services are specifically individualized based on the needs.
Education is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another. The Sports Nutrition Academy serves as a resource hub educating those who are interested in further enhancing their athletic performance through nutrition.
We conducted a series of physical seminars, webinars, and workshops spreading sports nutrition information, including pre, during, post-training diet, hydration tips, supplements, and doping, etc.
But today, the Sports Nutrition Academy has raised their game by digitizing education, producing sports nutrition courses that are certified by American Council on Exercise, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and Athletics and Fitness Association of America.
This is considered our big milestone as currently we are the first provider of a structured and online sports nutrition course. We believe that everyone deserves the resource to improve in fitness, not only limiting them to elite athletes, coaches or sports nutritionists, hence recreational hobbyists, enthusiasts, parents, young athletes are welcome to get our education or service too.
Everyone can be their own champion. Every champion has their own secret to success. But of course, no one is born a champion. Champions are built and nurtured.
Wow, we have more participants joining in tonight. And once again, good evening, everyone, to join our sessions tonight. And I'm Justine, I'm the moderator of tonight's sessions. So today is also World Physiotherapy Day, which happens every year on 8 September to honor the contributions of physiotherapies and raise awareness about the roles physiotherapy plays in health and rehabilitations. So happy World Physiotherapy Day to everyone here. So I would like to take this time to also introduce what is new in our expert series this year. So we focus on bite-sized 30-minute webinars that fit into your busy day. Yeah, I know everyone is busy nowadays. So yeah, we will focus on more practicals, more engaging sessions so make sure you watch our full expert series. I would like to also introduce to you SNAP 100, which is a program that we would like to bring sport nutrition support to sport clubs, academies, sports schools across Malaysia. So we will provide free nutrition talk and also some goodies bag and discounted sport products. So you just need to scan the QR code and then sign up for free. So here also show what the athletes learn. So besides from basic nutrition, we will also share with you about sport nutrition that I believe all athletes you won't want to miss if you want to perform at your best. So you can sign up by scanning this QR code. It's free. I would like to also take this chance to thank our platinum sponsors. So Expert Nutrition is a supplement companies. They offer a wide range of sport and also health supplements. And I believe all of our members, you have already received an email about this promotion. So you can scan the QR code and then you just need to choose your products and you can enjoy 10 ringgit off with a minimum spend of 100 ringgit. So next is Protect. Protect is a professional badminton brand from Malaysia. So I know many people, they play pickleballs nowadays. So Protect offers many good quality sport gears. So one of the top sales are pickleball paddles, badminton. They also sells a lot of sport jerseys, pants, and other accessories. So all of our members, you will get 15 ringgit off without minimum spend. So you just need to scan this QR code and then you can shop at their website. And you just need to key in the QR code. So make sure you take a picture of this slide, or you can also check your email. I believe all of you have already received this email. And we also have Snap membership. So if you would like to access to our free expert series and discount on our courses and services, yeah, you can sign up as a member. It's only 89 ringgit per year. So you can enjoy exclusive deals by signing up as a member. So last month we had an inspiring session from Sabrina. So she shares about how to build championships among deaf badminton players in conjunction with Badminton Championships Day. So today, in conjunction with World Physiotherapy Day, we are excited to have our physio expert Hannah from SpineFit, Chiro and Physio. So she will talk about common myths in injury recovery, what actually helps you heal. Before this, let's get to know you all better. So we will have a poll later. You can respond. You can answer to the poll. So the first question is, which of the following describes you best? So you can share with us either you are athletes, parents, coach, sports science and medical team, or other health professionals. So second question, do you need to rest completely until your injury gets better before going back to your sport again? Yes or no? Feel free to respond. Or we have more health professionals here tonight. And also some parents, athletes. Cool, I believe you all will get very insightful knowledge from Hannah. And most people answer, yeah, we don't need to rest completely until our injury gets better. So make sure you stay till the end of our session because Hannah is going to reveal what is the correct answer. Okay, now back to today's highlight. Once again, I would like to thank you, Hannah from SmileFit, for your time tonight. So she is a physiotherapist since 2000, I think. Yeah, from the most common injuries she sees in general populations and recreational athletes to how physiotherapy and also chiropractic work together. So you will get tips to recover smarter, move better, and also get back to doing what you love safely and confidently. So she believes in forming professional relationships with her patients or clients that value honesty and transparency in all aspects of treatment, including where physiotherapy can help and where it cannot. So before we begin, just a quick reminder to all of our participants here. So please stay muted throughout the end of the session. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. We will address them later. All right, so I will pass the floor now to Hannah.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for coming today. So yes, my name is Hannah and I'm a physiotherapist and I've been a physio for almost 7 years now. And today, let me just share my screen. Okay. share screen. Okay, and today everyone can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, great. So today we are going to be talking about some common myths in injury recovery. So as I mentioned, I've been a physio for almost 7 years now, and I work in a clinic together with both chiropractors and also osteopaths. And we also have, of course, physios there. And we see a good mix of patients between those who are sedentary, but we also see quite a good mix of people who are very active. Used to see a lot of athletes as well. And now a lot of our focus is also on those who are recreational athletes or those that are very active. So the topic that we're going to go through today, we find is quite important because regardless of the population we see, whether they are sedentary or whether they are active, both a lot of people have very common myths that they believe in regarding their injury. And it's even more important for those who are athletes or those who are active to know about these myths because for these kinds of people, well, injury affects a big part of their routine. For someone who is active, for someone who trains like maybe 3 to 5 times a week, once you are injured and you are not able to train, it definitely affects more than your routine. It will affect your mood because you're losing out a big part of your life. And once you're injured, you can't exercise, your routine is disrupted. That also affects your sleep sometimes because you exercise well, you sleep well. It affects your mood, lower mood, and it affects your productivity. So if for someone who exercise or training is such a big part of your life, delaying any type of injury can actually prolong the time taken to get back to your sport. And this also prolongs the cycle, which affects not just your training routine, but it affects your mental health as well, which I'm sure other speakers have talked about. So today we are going to go through 3 things. Firstly, we'll go through some common injuries that athletes will experience and what is the time frame of recovery most of the time. 3 myths that we're going to go through to identify the truth behind it. And then we'll quickly wrap up also with how physiotherapy or chiropractic care can help. So, firstly, some common injuries that we see, of course, is back pain, knee pain, and also shoulder and elbow pain. So a lot of sports involve dynamic movements. You are running around a lot, you're twisting, you might be squatting, and you're also using your arm sometimes. Let's say if you're playing tennis or you're doing racket sports. So these 3 areas are very commonly injured. The first one, so if any of you have experienced back pain, you understand how difficult it is. I'm going to show a spine model, but if you can't see it, it's okay. So in our spine, we have 3 major areas that can get injured. The first one is the disc in the middle here. So the disc in the middle is what helps to support your spine and absorbs the loads, and it also creates space for the nerves to run through. If you injure this deep structure, often you can have a sharp pain in your back, and if it affects the nerve, it can also go down the leg. This kind of injury can take quite long to recover, 3 to 6 months, because firstly, it's a very deep structure, and secondly, nerves just recover quite slowly. A ligament injury. So a ligament is what connects our bones to bones. If you've ever wondered why when you're sleeping, your muscles, your body just doesn't turn into like jelly and you can still have that support while you sleep, it's because even though your muscles aren't working, your ligaments help to hold all your joints in place. If you have a ligament injury, oftentimes it can feel like an aching pain, with stiffness being one of it because it affects your joints. And this one can take 1 to 3 months to recover because ligaments have poorer blood supply. Muscles, we're all very familiar with muscle injuries. It often has quite a sharp pain, but we know that we can recover quite fast within 4 to 6 weeks of recovery because muscles have a lot of blood supply. And usually, the more blood supply you have to an injured area, the faster your recovery. When it comes to the knee, I think it's a bit hard to see the knee, but when it comes to the knee, you have 3 main structures. So you can see that red thing in the middle of your knee. So that's actually a bursa. And a bursa is a fluid-filled sac which rubs in between your joints or your bones in the knee. And this also helps to absorb loads. Just like the disc in our back, our knee has a bursa. So when there's a direct trauma to the knee, so let's say you fell or someone kicked in the knee and you see a lot of swelling, oftentimes that is caused by a bursitis, which is inflammation of the bursa, and that usually takes maybe around 4 to 6 weeks to recover. Some people recover slower depending on how injured the fluid-filled sac is. Tendons and ligaments, they can be quite similar to the back. If you have a ligament sprain, the most famous one, when you play football and you do an ACL injury and you hear a pop because of a twisting motion, usually that is quite severe and that one needs surgery. If that one usually takes quite a long time to recover even after surgery. Tendons come from overuse injuries. So if you have a tendons connect our muscles to the joints, to our bones. Usually from overuse to our muscles, our tendons tend to absorb the load and gets injured as well. The good news is that with tendons, because of better blood supply than to ligaments, they usually take a shorter time to recover, anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. With the shoulder, so shoulder is a very interesting joint because the shoulder joint actually has a lot of muscles that control the movement. And one of the most common causes of shoulder pain is imbalance in the muscles which help to control the movement of the arm going up and down. So if you're having, let's say, muscle weakness in certain small muscles, that can cause the joint to pinch onto the bone above, and that causes a shoulder impingement. The good news is that with shoulder pain, because a lot of it is controlled by muscles, recovery can be very fast, anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, as long as there's no swelling and as long as there's no tendon tears. With the elbow, so this is more common for racket sports. On the outer part of the elbow, this part here, we are very familiar with the term tennis elbow because this tennis elbow is an injury to the tendon on the outer part, connected to the muscles on the outer part of your forearm and involved in a wrist extension. So flicking a badminton racket out or flicking a tennis racket out over and over again can overuse that muscle and overuse the tendon. Same with the golfer's elbow. Golfer's elbow is the opposite of that. So golfer's elbow is the tendon on the inside of the elbow. And when you swing a golf club inwards, so that overuse causes an injury to the inner part of the elbow. Again, similar with the shoulder, because a lot of muscles control movements, once you get to the root cause of the injury, oftentimes it can take anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks to recover, as long as it's not a serious injury and as long as there's no tears. So those are the few common injuries that people will commonly experience. And different injuries have different recovery times, but we should also be understanding the common myths of recovery to speed that up. So the first common myth is something similar to the poll that Justine gave us just now, which is resting until it's gone. Like how many of us have, when we got injured, somebody has told us to just rest, take a break from training, wait until the pain goes off, and then only go back to sport. Unless you are severely, severely injured, or the joint is really swollen, or the pain is really, really bad, a lot of times complete rest will often lead to stiffness and weakness, and that will actually prolong your recovery process. For those of us who have an injury, it's more important to have active recovery because the research has found that early movement actually causes faster return to sport. I'll show you some of that research if your screens are looking. This is a research done quite recently, and they were trying to identify what bed rest or what immobilization or just not moving the injured joint did to the muscle mass. So they found that in this picture, if you can see, the right leg is a lot smaller than the left leg. And this is over a period of 28 days of complete rest after an ACL injury. The change in muscle volume started as early as 2 days after the injury, and the biggest amount of muscle mass was within the first 2 weeks. The most rapid atrophy happened during the earliest period of immobilization, showing that if you are injured, you should be getting moving as soon as possible to prevent and to delay the loss of muscle mass, especially for athletes and active people. And fun fact, also in hospitals, for patients who have just gone through a surgery, let's say even a total knee replacement where they take out your knee and they replace it with a metal, oftentimes the doctor orders for physio to come in and get the patient moving on day one after their surgery. So imagine a person who has just done surgery and they need to move one day after their surgery, how much more an active person who has an injury that is not as severe. The bed rest caused the fastest atrophy in the calf muscles first, and then the quads, the thigh, then the hamstrings, and then the foot dorsiflexus, which is the muscles which control movement of the foot. So all these movements are all super important in sports. So we also run the myth from one end of the spectrum to the next. A lot of times we go from hearing people telling us to rest completely until the pain is gone to people telling us just push through it, no pain, no gain. Well, that's the second myth that we're going to cover, no pain, no gain, because pain often doesn't mean progress as well. While we have to understand that early movement when we get injured is important, we also have to understand that there is a limit to the kind of pain that we can feel. No pain, no gain is a myth because once you overload the tissues to the point of beyond recovery or where it doesn't help recovery, it often exacerbates the injury and causes it to have a harder time to heal. So part of recovery, aside from doing early movement and early rehabilitation, the second part of recovery is also being able to identify good pain versus bad pain. So the second bit of research that researchers have done in the field of rehab injury, they call it the traffic light guide to differentiating good pain and bad pain, to help athletes and active individuals understand when to push and when to hold back. So the first one, so we all know traffic light, green light, yellow light, red light. So the green light, let's say you're injured and you are performing your sport, you still want to train. How do you know that you are in the right zone of training? The green zone is when you might feel some pain during the activity, and on a scale of 0 to 10, we call it the VAS scale, the pain is maybe just 1 to 4. It hurts a little bit, but you can still tolerate it. And the pain has to go off within 24 hours of stopping your training or stopping your activity. So let's say you have a knee injury, you still want to train, there's no swelling, you're cleared for training, you're able to walk and run. You still feel a little bit of pain during your training, but the pain goes off within 24 hours. That usually means that you can add on maybe 1 to 5% more of load or intensity of activity during your next session and continue that as long as you stay in the green zone. The yellow zone is where you're pushing it a little bit. The pain during your activity is a little bit more, maybe 4 to 6 out of 10, so you can definitely feel it. But the pain goes off within 48 hours. So within 2 days of taking a rest after that training, your pain goes off and it doesn't affect your activities anymore. So this means that you are pushing your training a little bit more, but it means that you're also not causing any injury. So if you stay within the green zone and yellow zone and you bounce within that, it usually means that you're not causing any further injury, even though you still feel some pain. However, the red zone, so this is when no pain, no gain is totally wrong. When the pain that you feel is actually quite a lot, and beyond 2 to 3 days, the pain still persists. So this usually means that you're causing more pain to whatever injured body part that you are training. And this also means that you have to rest and either cut down the intensity, the time, or the frequency of training that you're doing to drop it down to a green and yellow zone before you continue. So traffic light guide is a very good guide for those of us who want to continue training even though we have an injury. The third common myth is manual therapy fixes everything. So manual therapy, if those of us who have gone for physio or chiropractic care, oftentimes we know that a big part of the treatment involves some soft tissue work. It feels like a massage, but a painful massage, maybe even chiropractic adjustment to the spine. But this is just one part of the picture. For long-term recovery, it actually needs movement retraining to prevent the injury. You can think of it as your body has a fire in the injured body part. Just undergoing manual therapy is just like sounding the fire alarm. Somebody comes and tries to put out the fire, but they just do a superficial fire, like superficial, just throw some water on it. The smoke goes off, the major fire is calmed, but underneath the flame is still there. And it just takes a spark for the flame to come back to a full-blown fire again. Versus if you combine the manual therapy with movement retraining and identifying what's causing the injury to keep coming back, that's like getting a whole fire extinguisher team, the firemen to come and actually put out the fire for good. Passive care is often temporary. Active care creates lasting change. Let me show you also, if you're looking at the screen, this is a person who they were trying, so the research was trying to identify the cause, different movement imbalances and how it would affect the knee joint. So they found that if your toe tends to point inwards during your sport and you tend to have a knee that drops inward as well, that would cause usually increase in the incidence of knee pain and also back pain. So part of the rehab is actually, instead of just going for manual therapy to release tight muscles in the hip, in the inner thigh, around the knee, or even around the lower back, part of it is to identify which muscles are weak and correct it. You can see this picture in the green box on the bottom right corner. Initially, before movement correction, you can see that the hip slants, the lower back arches, and the knee also drops inwards. This is a person who might have back pain, hip pain, or knee pain after a long run. After correction and doing exercises, and not just manual therapy, better movement actually creates better training in the future and reduced risk of re-injury occurring. So moving in your old habits can lead to future pain, regardless of how many manual therapy sessions you do. This is the main reason people keep coming back with injuries, because the work is not done into identifying what movement imbalances are contributing to the injury, and instead they're putting a plaster on it with manual therapy. Lastly, the last part of how chiropractic and physiotherapy can help. If you go to a good chiro or a good physio, the first thing that they want to educate you on is how to identify good pain versus bad pain during your training. They should help you to monitor the pain that you're feeling and how you know when it's still okay to push and how to know when to take a step back and rest. And manual therapy. Not to say that manual therapy is bad, it definitely has its place in your recovery program. But once the initial tightness and joint restrictions are gone, you have to go on to rehab guidance, which is identifying the movements that you have to retrain. An example is, let's say we have a patient come in and he has a recurrent back pain after his badminton sessions. That recurrent back pain gets better with manual therapy. So they do the chiropractic adjustments, they do the muscle release, they do dry needling. Feel better, go back to training, push a bit harder, the pain comes back. Perhaps once you identify what is the problem, they might find that the patient actually has weak hips. And during the movement where they have to push off, jump, or land, the hips are not absorbing the load, and the load is all going to the lower back, causing the pain. That patient will have to undergo a lot of retraining for them to be able to prevent the back pain from coming back and also save their money. So they stop going for so many manual therapy sessions. Last one is also our mindset. Part of the physio and chiropractic role is also helping to understand that injury and recovery is actually an important part of life. When we are active, if we're an active athlete or we're just generally a person who has goals that we want to achieve, oftentimes an injury, a setback to our body can mean that we have to postpone the marathon, or it can mean that we have to skip out on the next competition or the next triathlon or Ironman. But the mindset is that our body is there for the rest of our life. And even though it's great to have goals that we want to achieve, injury and recovery is just a way of our body giving us a pause in the timeline and teaching us to understand our bodies better so that we can actually have more prolonged recovery or more empowered. We are more empowered to understand our body better for the rest of our life, for the maybe 90 years that we can live on this earth. So that is the end of my talk. Recovery isn't linear, so there are lots of up and downs when we have an injury. But understanding our injury and understanding what helps and what doesn't will help us to progress our health more. And as long as we are progressively improving and understanding that our health is for the rest of our life and not just for a short goal that we want to achieve, that helps us to approach our injury with a better mindset. So don't be afraid to ask for help, including having good nutrition and also psychologically. Then we can have a better and more meaningful life for the rest of our healthy life, touch wood. Yes. So that is the end of my webinar. And we can go on. So if you guys have any questions, you can drop that in the chat. Okay, I'm just gonna end the presentation and the slide sharing.
Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, I learned new things from you. Okay, we are now open the floor to our audience. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself. Don't miss the chance now to ask questions from
Question. Can I ask a question, Hannah?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, I'm Ken. I'm a personal trainer and a coach.
Yes.
How do you see us fitness professionals working alongside physios, complementing your work? Yeah, because I see there's a certain overlap in it, but also we also help out physio clients. So have you worked with personal trainers? And I want to understand your viewpoint on it. How can we work with physios better? Yeah.
Thanks for your question, Ken. We physios actually love personal trainers because you guys do a lot of what we cannot do. Unless the physio is a personal trainer themselves, which actually a lot of physios are not. So in SpineFit, we actually do work quite closely with personal trainers, and we actually encourage a lot of our patients to continue on their care once they're out of that injury phase or out of the more severe part of their injury phase, to find a good personal trainer that they can work with. So what I find, or how I find that physios work very well together with personal trainers, is that let's say a patient has maybe a slip disc and they come to us and they stop their personal training for maybe a short period of time just to get the initial injury sorted. What we can do is, for the physio part, we help them to, of course, firstly get out of the initial inflammation phase. And then we help them once they're a bit better and they can move better to maybe identify certain movement patterns that they are lacking or certain weak areas that they can just work on for the initial time period. And once they're actually pretty much okay, they can perform their activities of daily living. They can do a little bit of maybe their home workouts that we get them started on first. Then we usually refer them back to either their usual personal trainer, or we ask them to find a good personal trainer, or we pass on a contact of good personal trainers to them, especially for those who want to take their fitness to the next level. Because we find that the personal trainer, so this is like the pros or the benefits that we find of personal trainers, is that personal trainers have a good understanding of how to progress the sport or to progress their training to add on more weights than we could in a physio session, more dynamic movements that are more relevant to the patient's training, like sport perhaps, and also helps the patient to achieve their muscular goals, maybe for weight loss or maybe for muscle gain. And what we normally do is we write a report to the personal trainer, a short letter, explaining our findings and explaining certain areas of weakness that we find the patient has, so the personal trainer themselves can work together with the patient on it. And so far, we find that a lot of patients find it very helpful, and they're very happy with this. Yeah, personal
Okay.
trainers. Very, very, very glad to have personal trainers in this world.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. We have some questions in the chat box. From Fatim, which types of sport injuries or conditions benefit the most from dry needling?
I would say the conditions which the patient has a lot of muscle conditions where injuries result from a lot of muscle overload. So we were talking about, for let's say the lower back, there is a disc injury, there's a ligament injury, and then there's muscle injuries. So muscle and tendon injuries, usually they come from overloading a particular muscle over and over again. So those conditions we find benefit a lot from dry needling, because what dry needling does is the needle goes into the muscle, it stimulates part of the fascicles or maybe the part of the muscles which control the muscle tone. So if a muscle tone is very high, the electrical force within that muscle tone is also very high. When the needle goes in, it actually stimulates those fascicles or the electric force in a way in that muscle to go back down to baseline and relax the muscles. Yeah, so any injury which involves a lot of muscle tightness or tension or muscle overuse, dry needling helps a lot. So it wouldn't be so useful maybe in like a swelling case, like a bursitis. Someone kicked your knee and your knee has a lot of swelling. It wouldn't help. Fatin also said, is there any possible side effects for athletes? Normally it's quite sore. So dry needling, because of the way that it twitches the muscle and also kind of resets that baseline tone of the muscle, it can cause some soreness in the following 24 hours. So depending on the athlete's pain tolerance, maybe their training will be affected the day after or the 12 to 24 hours after. You might find that they have a reduced capacity for muscle contraction, which is important to know lah if they're doing a lot of sports that involve a lot of force like sprinting. You're welcome. Jaden asked what nutrition is good for nerve injured. Oh, okay, maybe that one Justin has to answer because I have no idea which nutrition is good. I mean, the common ones doctors usually give is Neurobion, which I think is a vitamin B. But if usually we ask patients to either find a nutritionist or ask their pharmacist lah, if they know.
Yeah. We will have our expert to answer questions from Jaden. So, what nutrition is good for nerve injured?
Hi, thank you very much, Jaden, as well as Keith for the question. I mean, it's supposed to be more physio related, but since the question is nutrition, I can also chime in if you don't mind, because we are all working with athletes, also with injury. So it really depends. So to answer firstly on Keith's question, can nutrition play a part in recovery together with physios and chiros? Definitely yes. Of course, depending on where or which type of injury, because there's also different phases as well. So if let's say the injury causes immobility, then of course in terms of calorie intake, we might need to adjust. Yeah. Or if let's say the athlete or the client is in the rehab phase, yeah, depending on how intense or how involved is the prescribed exercise, then we may not adjust in terms of the calorie intake. But other type of injury, especially when it involves skeletal muscles, we would really focus more on protein, especially for example for athletes where we really need to maintain their muscle mass. Let's say if they are injured, they are unable to actually train as per usual, we will try our best to manipulate their protein intake, yeah, to make sure that they are able to achieve enough leucine as well as protein intake overall Yeah, so that their muscle mass will sort of maintain and not lose too much. And also other micronutrients, such as, for example, vitamin A, to actually help with the what do you call this? Synthesis, DNA synthesis, and to increase the muscle cell proliferation. Then also other things like the antioxidant type of vitamins like vitamin C, yeah, for wound healing and collagen synthesis as well. And then maybe even vitamin E. And other things like omega-3, especially for injuries that involve tendon ligament, yeah, as well as muscle, yeah, to help to reduce the inflammation as well as improve the anabolic response towards the insulin as well as the amino acids. So really depends on the type of injury, and usually we would adjust to increase more of the fruits and vegetables, because you can get all these like vitamin C, vitamin A from vegetables, as well as vitamin E from that. Yeah, of course, for certain athletes that we really want to, because time is money, right? If they're professional athletes, the longer time they take to recover, the in terms of sponsorship as well as their ability to perform, is very crucial. So then we would really up their, say, for example, omega-3 levels, yeah, as well as making sure that they are able to achieve other nutrients faster. So when it comes to the question from who already, Jaden, for the nerve injury, usually we would just focus on the omega-3 as well as maybe food with high in vitamin B, like the green leafy vegetables. Yeah. So because nerve injury is something that if you're not lacking of, usually it's not something that it can significantly improve. Because nutrition is not magic. Also, yeah. So I think Hannah mentioned about the neurobiome. Neurobiome is also vitamin B, right? Yeah. So usually if those if you're eating enough of that, then usually it's okay lah. Yeah. So vitamin B, all the what do you call this, the green leafy vegetables, the nuts, yeah, legume, beans, yeah, sometimes also yeah. So you need to have enough of that lah. So of course supplement can actually help lah. Yeah. But yeah, we prefer to go the diet way, the going through food. Yeah, and then yeah, if there's really a need, then of course then supplements lah.
We have more questions about nutrition.
Okay, can. But I want to ask Hannah questions,
No,
But
I
yeah,
have
sure.
a question. What do nutritionists think about collagen for like tendon healing, tendon ligaments, joints, those kind of things? Because patients ask that a lot, and I'm like, I don't know.
So just to share, and of course those who are listening, you can actually look it up as well. So usually what we do is we go to the Australian Institute of Sports, where we see the evidence base, right? So we want to make sure that whatever we are suggesting to athletes, they are of good evidence. So collagen is in B, I believe. So B means there's evidence that it may work, but it may not work for everyone. So for me, collagen, of course, is a matrix and it's part of the structure. So usually if it's more of a tendon or joint injury, of course having enough in the diet will be good. And of course collagen together with vitamin C. And I believe that collagen, there's also specific type of collagen, not all, specific type of collagen that is for the injury, for wound healing, not the one for the beauty, so people need to be aware of that. And because it's evidence B, so depending on the situation and depending on how fast or quick a person wants to recover, So if you talk about athletes, right? Usually, if we have tried everything else, and time is crucial, and we may not know that whether collagen works or not for that person, we will still try. But of course, we would make sure that the athletes actually take supplements that are having the third party checking. But if you're talking about the general public, it's just like glucosamine and chondroitin. I mean, it's like a 50-50 thing, it's not, doesn't work for everybody. So, yeah, whether it 100% works, yeah, it really depends on the person. Similarly, for things like caffeine also, I mean, not for injury lah, but then, some people respond better to it. Some people don't even have the response to it. So, again, it may work, it may not work.
Thank you.
But in saying that, I feel that sometimes it may work. It's because maybe that person don't eat enough of the good quality protein, right? So people are lacking. Also, when you have in collagen, then it works well because then you get enough. Yeah. So then for those who are already taking enough, maybe they don't even need it.
Question.
Yes, Ken.
Okay. I have a client slash friend that I suspect does not have enough protein intake. But when she drinks whey protein, the so-called Chinese heat tea lah, she gets her body temperature rises and she gets feverish. Yeah, of course her hydration.
When they drink what? Sorry.
Whey protein. Because
Okay.
we want to hit the protein counter. We want to hit the recommended protein easier. But the problem is that her body gets heated up and sort of feverish. It makes her uncomfortable. But of course, her nutrition, her hydration is also not on point. So
That's
what
the
is
main
your
reason.
Yeah. So
Not-
does really whey protein cause the so-called Chinese heatiness? Or I don't know.
Okay,
What's your
so
thought?
so the heatiness, right? There's a lot of maybe we should do one webinar on this. The heatiness, right? Actually, this is more Chinese. So we talk about the more scientific, right? It's
Yeah.
actually most likely the reason is number one, dehydration, because
Yeah.
for example, when you let's say like eat durian very heaty, or take all this whey protein very heaty, but actually it's not because of hot or heat, for it's just that number one, because it's for example, protein, right? When you increase your protein intake, you need to also increase your fluid intake, your hydration, because
No
more
matter
water
it's whey protein or just chicken breast protein, is it?
doesn't matter, because
Wow,
when your
okay.
protein intake increases, your body actually requires more water to actually metabolize it. So when your
Understand.
body is using more water, then you become more dehydrated, right? So people sometimes when they increase their protein intake, or maybe when they switch to more of a high protein keto diet, then they get constipation, because they don't drink enough water. So your body does need so the heatiness actually comes from there. The high fever, I don't really know for sure why. Maybe there's too high protein intake, or maybe sudden change in the diet, or maybe dehydrated, or too much, could also cause that.
Understand.
Because it's higher inflammation, right?
Yeah.
Or could be even allergic to chicken, or too much, or whey. Sometimes if you haven't taken it and you're not sure, then sometimes it can have a different response in your body. Fever is just your immune system working really hard to fight these foreign substance going in, right? So or your body thinks that it's a foreign thing, or virus, like, so that's why your body temperature goes up. Yeah. So I hope that answer your question. The heatiness, and it's really a lot of times just dehydrated. Yeah.
Understand.
Once you really drink more water and all, then you'll be fine.
Thank you.
I see. Maybe we want to answer how your work as physio with Chiro doesn't clash. Maybe that question, huh?
Oh.
For Hannah. Yeah.
I find the nutrition Q&A quite interesting actually, personally. Physios and chiros, we do address injuries, but we work together well by understanding each other's scope of practice. So to put it quite simply, if a person has a lot of stiffness, a lot of joints, and they are having a lot of movement restrictions because of the movement in their body is just not very good, and they themselves find it difficult to move in certain positions, chiropractic care helps a lot, because chiropractic care, it helps them to adjust the body so that the joints are not so tight and they are able to feel the joints better, because chiropractic adjustments also help with regulating the nervous system. So if your spine is very stiff, the transmission of nerve signals to the muscles and to the joints are also not very good. So an adjustment to the spine actually helps with the whole body movement. Whereas for physios, we focus a lot on the muscle part and also the movement part. So getting the patient to move themselves in a proper way. So that's why we don't clash, because we understand each other's strengths. I know Fatin said, how can hydration impact injury prevention and recovery? And I know this is more of a nutritionist scope, but from what we have seen, that patients who have injuries to areas like the spine, where the disc is thinned, or even to tendons, where the tendon has it's overworked and it's very tight and painful. So we find that hydration levels actually impact their recovery, because those injured areas actually need to take up more hydration, because the body's recovery cells, or let's say white blood cells or whatever it takes to help to recover the areas, it actually needs water to bring it to the area. So hydration does impact recovery quite a lot. Those that stay dehydrated tend to actually recover slower. And also, as Tanya mentioned, if you take more protein, you actually need more water to help to like synthesize the goodness of whatever you're eating. Miss Lu said, for men physio, tire shops who do alignment and balance is chiropractic. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Thank you.
Can I add in on the hydration? Or Justin, you want to add in?
Your app.
Yeah, so actually, it's just a simple concept or idea. Yeah. So for example, and this is something that we teach the athletes all the time, and Justin know that as well. When you're dehydrated, okay, and our body, 60-70% is made of water, including the muscles, the joints. I forgot how much percentage already, in the in the tendon or whatever, but our blood, right, it's all made of water. So when you're dehydrated, right, your blood becomes thicker, and the blood circulation that goes around that brings all your immune cells, your white blood cells, and whatever cells that is needed for the recovery, as well as not just recovery from injury, but also recovery from illnesses, right? When the blood is thicker, then it flows slower also. So in that sense, when we talk about nutrient delivery, it's also slower. So why when we are sick, yeah, or maybe even injured, like what Hannah mentioned, we need to really hydrate ourselves, because our body does need a lot more water. We may not be exercising, right? But our immune system is exercising and working very hard. So they do need more water. And in terms of how much water to take, to be honest, it's very individualized. I really don't have answer for that, because every individual have their own sweat rate. You may sweat differently from me. The composition of sweat is also different. In terms of how much, usually I would say go and check your urine color to make sure that you are well hydrated. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you have heard about, we need about 8 to 9 glasses of water a day. But some people may need more, to my opinion. So making sure that you are well hydrated. If your urine color is same color as what you see on the screen, this yellow color and even darker, that's really a sign you are not so hydrated anymore. You need to be pale yellow, not clear, but pale yellow, so that you're not overhydrated as well.
Thank you for the question.
We have a question from Miss Lu. So how to refer the walk-in patients to physiotherapist or chiropractic?
You mean to any physio or chiropractic as a nutritionist referring? Or like
Hello, Hannah.
to Spine Fit? Sorry, hi, Miss Lu.
Hello, Hannah. So,
Hi.
my question is actually, how to when the injured athletes comes to us, right?
Ah.
How we can refer them to see either physio or chiro? Which what kind of injury that for those, like we know how we're going to refer them to you or your colleague?
Oh,
No?
I see.
Especially some of the physio center, they don't have chiro, right?
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
I would say if the injury you find is something related that the maybe the athlete complains that it happens because of a lot of maybe stiffness that they're feeling in certain joints, and it's not like a very like it doesn't affect their training to the point that they can't train for a few days, like that type of injury, and it's more of they feel that there's a persistent soreness or a persistent type of ache that really affects their day-to-day as well as their training. Then those kinds of cases, I think chiropractic care can help a lot. uh, for injuries which affect like the limbs, like maybe the shoulders, the knees, the wrist, the ankles, or something that's very clearly muscle related, those you can refer to physio. But I would say that for most chiropractors and physiotherapists, they usually start with an initial consultation first to understand the patient's injury or the athlete's injury, and then usually from there they are able to see whether the person needs more chiropractic or whether needs more physio. So I think it maybe doesn't really. Can I say it doesn't really matter too much who you're referring to, as long as the person knows to do the consultation first to identify what's the main cause lah. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
One last one from Muhammad Hasman, and he said, "Is there other factors that can cause cause tennis elbow, and is there any tip to deal with that?" Usually we find that the causes of tennis elbow, it comes down to two things. One is just plain overuse, so the frequency and intensity of the training is just too high, that it exceeds the tendon capacity and then causes small micro tears in the tendon, which then cause pain. And that one usually is a very persistent chronic pain, and it won't get better unless you address your training schedule to fit. The second cause of tennis elbow is an overuse of the muscle because of weakness in certain other areas. Like if we just take, for example, tennis, overuse in this kind of motion can lead to the tennis elbow pain over here and also the tendon here. But that can also be caused by maybe weakness in the triceps or weakness in the shoulder. So when they are performing the movement, the load doesn't get equally distributed from the wrist to the elbow, to the arm, and to the shoulder, and sometimes even to the spine. So that's where chiropractic comes in as well. And then it just stays, all the load just stays around the elbow, and then that causes an injury. So if you are having persistent tennis elbow pain, you also have to find out whether you are having an issue somewhere else, whether it's weakness in your arm or in the shoulder, or maybe even stiffness in your mid back, in your spine.
Okay, thanks for all the questions. Well, we have lots of questions today. And yeah, once again, so I would like to thank you, Hannah, for your time tonight with us and your insightful sharing. I believe all of us, we gain very insightful knowledge from you, from the common injuries to how physio and also chiro can help to speed up the recovery. Okay, yeah. So for all of our members, you can access to the recording of tonight's sessions on our website. You can just scan a QR code and then it will take you to our website. So you can have the access to the recording. If any of your friends or families that miss out tonight's session, you can still rewatch the recording. And guess what? Next month, in conjunction with World Mental Health Day, we are excited to bring you an expert, Dr. Daphne Ern. So she is a former Malaysian national badminton player, and she's now the co-founder and also chief coach of Dora Sparks Badminton Academy. So she will share about the proactive strategies for mental wellness and how she encourage resilience, motivations, and also some practical tips for us to support our mental wellness. So it happens on 10 October. So make sure you save your date and we'll see you next month. And do follow us, our social medias, or you can also join our WhatsApp community, Learn with Snap, where we will share some latest news and also what's happened, like expert series. So make sure you don't miss out. Yeah, follow our social media where we share more sport nutrition strategies and also tips. For example, like how you can eat when you at Marmart or convenience stores to get the pre and during post snacks. Yeah, so that's all for tonight. So thank you so much for all of you to join us tonight, today's sessions. So don't forget to give us your feedback. So we have posted feedback in the chat box. So feel free to share feedback with us, as we would like to improve our future events to make sure we deliver the best to you. Okay, so see you again on October 10 next month. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Everyone for attending. Good night. Thanks, Justine and Tanya, for
Thank you very
for this.
much.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed the nutrition questions. I should drink more water.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Good night.